All right, this section we're going to learn why we learned to factor, or why we reviewed factoring. We're going to multiply and divide rational expressions. Now, multiplication and division is easier than subtraction and addition because you don't have to worry about a common denominator. You need to be able to factor these fractional or rational expressions and simplify them, and then be able to cancel out things that are identical on the top in the numerator and in the denominator. Now, I want to remind you what it was like when you would multiply fractions. Suppose I want to multiply 3 halves by 4 sixths by 2 fifths. Okay. All right. Well, remember that we can multiply all the way across the top and get 3 times 4 is 12 times 2 is 24. Okay. And then 2 times 6 is 12 times 5 is 60. And then you can reduce your fraction. You can divide by 6. So 24 divided by, well, I could divide by 12, and that's going to be 2 fifths. Okay. Or you can cancel out, before you ever do that multiplication, anything that's alike in the top and the bottom. Now, let's remember that 6 is the same as 2 times 3. Okay. And 4 is the same as 2 times 2. So we get things down to their factors. And then we can cancel. Anything over itself is 1. So 2 over 2 would be 1. 2 over 2 is 1. And then 3 over 3 is 1. And we're left with 2 fifths uncanceled. And that's our final answer. So you can get the same multiplying across like you normally do, or canceling, and then you usually don't have to reduce at the end. So that's what we're going to do, that process with these rational expressions. First, we factor out our greatest common factor. So we have 2x squared, and that's going to leave us with x minus 1. And in the denominator, we factor out an x, and that leaves us with 4x minus 1. Okay. And so we look at what we have in common, numerator and denominator, and really all we have in common, I'm sorry, when I factored this out, that should have been a 4x minus 1. What we have in common now is these factors can cancel. 4x minus 1 are identical. I don't have another 2 to cancel, but x squared is the same as x times x. So if I rewrote that as x times x, then I could cancel one of the x's. And I'm left with my answer. What's left uncanceled is 2 times x, or 2x. And that would be your final answer for simplifying. Again, we're not getting an answer. We're just simplifying this rational expression. Looking at this next one, remember, if we have 4 elements to our polynomial or to our expression, we're going to factor by grouping. And so when we get that and we factor out our first factor, we end up with 2x squared times x minus 3 plus 7 times x minus 3. Okay. All of that's over x squared minus 9, which factors as x minus 3 times x plus 3. Now this, written as factors, is 2x squared plus 7. Get my little blanks filled in. Times x minus 3. And we're still over x minus 3 times x plus 3. All right, so what can cancel is what's identical, and the factors have to match exactly. And you can't factor part. You can't cancel part of a factor with something else. Like I can't go cancel this x and this x because these are added. Only can you cancel if they're multiplied together. So a whole factor, what's in parentheses, has to cancel with a complete factor in the denominator. So our answer here, we've done all we can do, is 2x squared plus 7 over x plus 3. And that will be our final answer. Now looking at this one, we've got two fractions multiplied together. Well, it doesn't matter what order we multiply in, just like we did up here. So we're going to factor each piece or each fraction and then cancel. So you could factor this one by grouping or factor it with a box, but it factors as 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. All of that over, factoring out an x times x plus 1, times this next piece, we factor out a 4x, and we're left with x plus 1. And we're over 2x minus 3. That one we can't do anything with. So now, the 2x minus 3's cancel. The x plus 1's cancel. And this x will cancel with this x. Now, not the 4, just the x, because it's 4 times x. And we have what's left uncanceled is an x plus 1 and a 4x, the x is canceled, a 4 in the numerator. And so our answer is 4 times x plus 1. That's our final answer that's as simple as we can get that rational expression. Looking at number 4, we've seen this one before. We know it factors as 4x times x minus 1. Okay. And the bottom one we should be able to factor mentally without too much trouble. It's x times x, one's plus and one's minus because of this. And we need it to be a positive 3 and a negative 1. So that factors that denominator. This numerator, again, we should be able to factor mentally. We have x times x, well, plus and a minus. Multiply to be 6, add to be 1. That's going to be plus 3 and minus 2 and over 4x. All right, so what can we cancel? We can cancel this x plus 3, this x minus 1, and 4 times the 4 and the x kind of are separate, but 4x times 4x over 4x would be 1. And so all we're left with that's not canceled out is x minus 2, and that's my answer. Okay. We have a few more examples. So let's move on. Put this down as far as we can get it. Get my pen back. All right, this is a division. Remember, when you divide by a fraction, it's the same as inverting and multiplication. So we're going to change this to a multiplication. And that's times 1 over x plus 2. Okay, we invert and multiply. Then we're going to factor our numerator, which factors is x plus 2 times x plus 2. All of that's over x plus 3. And it's times 1 over x plus 2. Okay. The only thing that can cancel here is one of our x plus 2's. So my answer is x plus 2 over x plus 3. Okay? Final answer. Now number 6 is a division problem as well. So we need to invert and multiply. So I'm going to write that underneath here. That would be 2x squared minus x minus 3 over 2x squared plus 8 times 2x to the 4th minus 32 over 2x squared plus x minus 6. Okay. Now, when we factor these, I'm going to go ahead now and factor them here. The first one will factor as, I'm going to break it apart for grouping. We have 2x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 3 over, and on the bottom I'm going to factor out a 2, x squared plus 4. Up here we have factor out a 2, and that gives me x to the 4th minus 16 over, and group this, fix it, get this ready for grouping. We have 2x squared plus 4x minus 3x and then minus 6. Okay. Then we group the first two here. That was just a rewrite. Okay. Then we first group the first two here and we factor out an x, and that leaves us with 2x minus 3. And in the second group, there's nothing we can factor out, so we put a 1 there. And we can't do any more with that denominator, so we leave it. On this one, we can factor x to the 4th minus 16 as the difference of squares. Okay, and this one will factor out a 2x, and that's going to leave me with x plus 2, and then minus 3, and that's going to leave me with x plus 2. Okay. Now, write these as completely factored polynomials. So that's going to take a, I'm going to move over just a little bit. So this one will be 2x minus 3 times x plus 1 over 2 times x squared plus 4 times, that should have been, it looks like an equals, but it's a time, 2. Now this x squared minus 4 can factor as x minus 2 times x plus 2, and then we still have our x squared plus 4. And here we have 2x minus 3 times x plus 2. Now we have completely factored that polynomial, which was quite a bit of work, but we did it. And so we're going to start canceling. We can cancel this 2x minus 3. There's not an x plus 1 we can cancel. We can cancel this 2. We can cancel this x squared plus 4 right here, and x plus 2 right here. So what's left uncanceled is x plus 1 times x minus 2. And that's your final answer. Okay. Quite a bit of work, but okay. So this next one, we've got a division here. So we've got 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 over 2x squared plus 7x plus 6 times x squared minus 4, and then x cubed plus 1, and times, and this one we leave as it is, we don't flip it, times 2x minus 4. All right, we can factor these by grouping these first two. So we need factors that multiply to be 6 and add to be 5. They're both positive, so that 5x we're going to write as 2x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 3. Might have been better to write it the other way, but anyway. And the bottom one, we need factors that'll multiply to be 6 times 2. Remember, we multiply the n terms 12 and add to be 7, both positive. So that's going to be 2x squared, and instead of the 7x, we're going to write plus 4x plus 3x, and then plus 6. Okay? The next one we can factor easily. It's a difference of squares. That's x minus 2 times x plus 2. The bottom one is a difference of cubes. So that's a is x and b is 1. So it's a sum of cubes, excuse me. So we have x plus 1 times x squared minus x plus 1. You learned that last time. You have the formula basically for it. This this one matches that exactly, so there's no point in even trying to factor it. We know it's going to cancel. And then on the bottom we can factor out a 2, and that leaves me with x minus 2. Okay, so we've done that. Now let's factor this by grouping. So we're going to factor out x, and that's going to leave me with 2x plus 3. And there's nothing we can factor there, so I'll have 1 times 2x plus 3. And then this one, we factor out a 2x. And so that leaves me with x plus 2. And we factor out a 3, and that leaves me with x plus 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase some stuff because I'm running out of room. But I'm going to write, you can see that this is the factorization of this. So I'm going to write it here so I won't forget it, and then I'm going to erase some things. That factors is x plus 1 times 2x plus 3, the numerator right here. The denominator right here will factor as 2x plus 3 times x plus 2. Okay. Now I'm going to erase this and this where I've done the work. So hopefully if you have, you have more room on your paper or another sheet of paper, you won't have to erase it. I'm going to erase those and replace them. I wish I could cut and paste at this point, but I think you can, but I don't know how to do it. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this. Whoops. Get my pen back. Rewrite this here where because that's the factored form of those expressions. Okay, and that saves me 2x plus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, and then I'm going to erase this because I just rewrote that and that gives me room now to write my answer. Okay, so make sure I have my pen back. We start canceling. 2x plus 3 will cancel with 2x plus 3. X plus 1 here cancels with x plus 1 here. Here's an x plus 2. X minus 2 will cancel here, and x squared minus x plus 1 cancels there. So it looks like everything cancels out except this 2 right here. Now, there's not, even though everything's canceled out on top, it's a 1. Because anything over itself is 1. So don't think it's a 0, it's a 1. And then what's left in the denominator is a 2. So all that ended up reducing to be 1/2. All right, now I know that's a lot, but you can do it. You just have the key is you have to be able to factor. And so if you didn't get 5-1 and 5-2, you need to go back and review it and review it and review it until you can factor these polynomials the way you need to be able to do.